Gorillas in the mist, skin suits in the Senate. Water in the streets, chest deep like it's Venice. Water out a tap in Jackson comes blacker than resin. Black incidentally like most of its residents, which is why it isn't on your television, isn't on the lips of your president. Well, I'm admitting that as evidence. I've been fleshing out a case to be made for the testament. I don't know what our collateral count is, but doubt it is less than the estimate. You just show us a hospital, watch as we Dresden it. Our propaganda gets taken to heart, and you're scarfing it, like it or not. If you think that you aren't, I would urge you to pick that apart, cause you're drinking it, smoking it, driving it, dressed in it. We pay for it, pray to it, bathe in it, fill up the basin, and babies are blessed in it. Ask no questions, bask in the pestilence. See, honey, when the plague goes live, you'd be wise to invest in it. See, honey, when the plague goes live, just between you and I, that's an industry sign that they're all done testing it. And come 2025, they will all be confessing it. And then a few small fry fall guys all fly from the precipice, who are doomed to be wasted like shell corporations, dissolving to vapor, then gone with the resonance, gone with the sense and the sentiments, gone with the dust of the remnants, gone with the ghosts of the regiment, gone like those families in Gaza whose bodies and homes are demolished when Israel sets up a settlement. Gone like your chance at a settlement. Gone like the hope of apologies out of those funding our deadliest research and backroom development. Gone like your shot at a measly I'm sorry from the mouths of our own bioterrorists. God, you cannot imagine the face of the monster. You can't even fathom the scale of its carapace. It's under your feet, yet you're barely aware of it. You see, it's quietly judging the scope of your suffering, sizing you up like a therapist. Then it rides in your guts like a parasite, growing in size and excreting a culture that's purely embarrassment. Then equal parts Manson and Maryland, equal parts something we push into madness and something we'll gladly exploit and objectify 50 years after it perishes. Carefully crafted and planned and arranged like a monarchy's marriages. Fucking cousins or otherwise, scourge of the colonized, staged and displayed for the sake of retaining those imperial barracks. And all to expedite a special type of anglicized dysplasia. The kind where half the world is waking up to learn they're being raided, raped, and robbed of all their heritage by Charles and his caravan of 30 servants' carriages. The kind where each in the procession is worth infinitely less, till eventually they're paid in sums of crown-approved disparagement and bonuses of shame, till they're finally told to thank the highest-ranking inbred pig named king of every garrison. One who rose into his power all immaculate, like Harris did. Well, now that garishness is melting down like paraffin that hardens in a shell and shelters terrified and threatened royal terrapin. Those that rule with zero question, although nobody elected it. Democracy was here till we dissected it. Democracy was here until the exhibition exodus. And the loss of that democracy is just a threat for those who've yet to recognize the scent of bait or know the taste of desiccants. Democracy was here and now the smear is all that's left of it.
Democracy was here and now the smear is all that's left of it.
Mother and baby on razor's edge, don't give a shit what your paper said. Economy creeping up out of red as they divvy a shitty little bit of bread. And miles away from that lady's ledge, her senator wake and he's safe and fed. And aide got a paper to read in bed, jerking him off as they count the dead. Mother and baby on razor's edge, don't give a shit what your paper said. Economy creeping up out of red as they divvy a shitty little bit of bread. And miles away from that lady's ledge, her senator wake and he's safe and fed. Aide got a paper to read in bed, jerking him off as they count the dead. Mother and baby on razor's edge, they don't give a shit what your paper said. Economy creeping up out of red as they divvy a shitty little bit of bread. And miles away from that lady's ledge, her senator wake and he's safe and fed. Aide got a paper to read in bed, jerking him off as they count the dead. Mother and baby on razor's razor's edge. Don't give a shit what your paper said. The economy creeping about a red as they divvy a shitty little bit of bread. And miles away from that lady's ledge, her senator waking, he's safe in bed. And Abe got a paper to read in bed, jerking him off as they count the dead. Mother and baby on razor's edge. They don't give a shit what your paper said. The economy creeping about a red as they divvy a shitty little bit of bread. And miles away from that lady's ledge, her senator waking, he's safe in bed. And Abe got a paper to read in bed, jerking him off as they count the dead.
Wait, so if you don't trust the CIA or you don't trust like our institutions, then what do you trust? Wait, so if you don't trust the CIA or you don't trust like our institutions, then what do you trust?
The last track, I think I only blinked once. I skipped lunch. Blinked twice. Christ, shut your eyes. Now open wide. Fascists took the nation and inflation took a supersize. It's sad to say your teachers couldn't quite make the ends collide. But now you'll probably get to see them on the weekends doing Uber drives. Say lube it with a little oil. One, it tastes expensive too. You'd be surprised how well it helps you open up your throat so you consume the lie of human rights that was sold to you by suits and ties, designer scents on plastic men with patient fangs and ancient vice. You know, the kind of greed that makes a person lose the sight of morals, so it's easier to sleep at night. It's easier to ease their minds and pick a foreign people we could demonize. If you take a sec to sink into how war criminals think, you'll know you'd never want to see inside. If every man's an open book to look within, theirs are bound in human skin and not designed for human eyes. They are wearing human skin, but they can simply not be humanized. They aren't worth the lowest of the poor they swore to crucify. Holy sweet Geneva, there's a mass grave full of dead believers you called the police on cause you don't believe in squatters' rights. You believe the sanctity of human life is relative to human worth in terms of work and dollar signs. So listen when I say you need to find the light of day before it's too late to apologize. Like holy sweet Geneva, here's a mass grave you can colonize. Because you seem to love to talk about the spirit of America. But if you saw the spirit of this land's supposed character, I think that you'd be calling ICE. And I also think the actual America is truly represented by the call to ICE. Is represented best by the descendants of some immigrants bitching about the immigrants, snitching on some immigrants, then playing dumb and innocent like good little Christians when their neighbors get deported. Until they're screaming at the store that they waited 20 minutes more because the staff was short. Because some ordinary bigot started waging war on immigrants. And honey, we'll just keep deporting because like your first vote at each election since, it turned out that the man you are supporting ended up to just be twice the fucking bigot as the bigot that he wins against. But I was not among the herd. A single word from Biden stirred a tingle in the cynic's sense. I knew that a vote for Joe was more like Reagan 2.0. I could smell that sarin smoke that choked around the river bend. And so I spoke about a living end, about an anchor thrown to drowning men, a democratic president, a country never found again. A man who marinated in the blood this land was founded in. A crime bill that contains sufficient lethal ends to drown us in. All written by a man who wears a crown of sins, who currently is sleeping in a bed of sins. And it's no wonder those who truly understand the meaning of democracy are not too keen to let us in. It's no wonder other countries can't conceive of skipping meals or missing rent or being on the streets because you can't afford your medicine. That's uniquely American. And Joe has proved to be the most disturbingly American of presidents. I shiver when I think of what's to come if he's the precedent. It's a wonder I can even function still to process all the rhymes through all the resonance. Bless my heart, I'm liminally reticent, standing on a threshold of bone, ash, and sediment, near a faded marker claiming this to be the grave of all my sentiments, exactly where I left them all and just how I remembered it. It's a wonder I can even function still to process all the rhymes through all the resonance. Bless my heart, I'm liminally reticent, standing on a threshold of bone, ash, and sediment, near a faded marker claiming this to be the grave of all my sentiments, exactly where I left them all and just how I remembered it.
Wait, so if you don't trust the CIA or you don't trust like our institutions, then what do you trust? Wait, so if you don't trust the CIA or you don't trust like our institutions, then what do you trust?
Fuck.
Wait, so if you don't trust the CIA or you don't trust like our institutions, then what do you trust?
They won't let you go, set you free, or send you home. Wait.
Who are these people?
Who are these people? Wait, let's.
Who are these people?
That's us. Hi, everybody. It's Indy here, and I got Reef there next to me. This is How Do We Miss That? It's Sunday night. It's still February. It's the last Sunday night in February. So therefore, what that means is Boats Uncensored. Yeah, baby. We're going uncensored tonight. So we're gonna go not Rockfin. Fuck Rockfin. We're gonna have a whole thing about Rockfin. Rumble, Kick. And we'll do it on Twitch, and we'll throw it on Twitter, and we'll throw it basically everywhere but YouTube. So yep. We're going to be everywhere else, and Boats Uncensored tonight. So that's number one.
And you'll put the link in chat.
I have all the links. Yes.
He has that in a document.
I sure do. I naturally always keep that stuff tracking.
He has a spreadsheet.
I don't have a spreadsheet. It's a document. You can poke fun if you like. You can poke fun if you like. I can deal.
It could be a spreadsheet, bro. You could have done it in a spreadsheet. Might be easier.
No, not in this case, but maybe a database, but not a document, not a spreadsheet. Definitely a document. Social emotional learning with Dr. Donnie. Good to see you. You haven't been here in a while. Good to see you, sir. Dan Bongino. Thank you, Mr. President, Attorney General, and Director Patel. I don't even want to know what Steve Gill is posting up there. Angel Rivera's here. Go check out the Angel in the Afternoon on Fridays. And, of course, on the Ocho, the other Ocho show, killing it, by the way, Pro Wrestling Talk, with its shorts are smashing right now. So go check out the Ocho. Sean the Accord Lord is here. If you missed Friday night's American Tradition clip show, Sean picked the playlist and I put it all together, and it was phenomenal, man. It was great. Thank you for doing that. Max RJ caught in Providence. Good to see you, sir. So we're just checking in, letting everybody kind of get here. Yes, Fred, we're going to do both. It's going to be uncensored and on Rumble, Kick, and everywhere but YouTube tonight. So you can let everybody know. There's all the links to the Rumble stream. We're also going to be on Bitchute and Odysee, by the way. The Odysee stream is just the how do we miss that stream. Odysee doesn't pick up the difference when we switch off, and it actually is kind of like preserving the original flavor of how do we miss that, which was supposed to be an hour and a half to 2 hours of news, and then we do, eye bleach afterwards as all 1 3+ hour block show. But at some point, because of all the copyright claims, we decided to break out the show because I didn't want to get the new 3 or 4 times. YouTube took down our stream because of something. And then we got a strike once or twice. So we were like, fuck that. Let's make the news separate and we'll do the React separate. Now the React's going on a totally separate channel. Now it's going to the Ocho. So, and starting next week, we will not be streaming boats onto the main channel. It will only go to the Ocho. And I believe that Pro Wrestling Talk the last couple of weeks has exclusively gone to the Ocho. So I'm excited about that. That's really starting to take off and do its thing. Good. Thank you for everybody who subscribed. If you're not subscribed, youtube.com/INN8TheOcho. Spell it all out. All right. I have a bunch of stories about the CIA tonight, which is interesting, or not the CIA, because it's not called this. It's just called CIA for those who are not quite in the know. But they say, you don't put the word the before God was the line in The Good Shepherd. So they don't say the CIA. They just call it CIA because they're arrogant douchebags, because that's what CIA is. Hi, Gene, our CIA handler listening. So let's just say hello to Gene. All right. Yes. So yes, it has moved over to the Ocho. Yes. And it's killing it over there. Good. Pro Wrestling Talk. Go check that out with Angel and Miss Witchy Perfect. Angel in the Afternoon was a good one on Friday. Go watch it on YouTube, because I did not make it over to Rumble, and the Odysee one was all chopped up. I don't know what's going on with Odysee. It's breaking up his streams and it keeps dropping it. So I tried connecting it, but it didn't work. Dan Bongino is a clown. Pam Bondi is connected somehow with the Church of Scientology. That was in her district. So she was very cozy with them because they, I believe, donated and helped get her elected. And she looked the other way on some things and really weird stuff. I'm going to at some point do a deep dive on basically everybody in this administration. We've already been collecting Oppo research on some of them. We did the article on Kennedy. We're looking at potentially doing one on Tulsi. I have a lot of ideas for articles that I want to put together. And now I'm going to have to document what the hell happened with Rockfin, because that's some shit. And that's still an ongoing story as well. For those who didn't know, and you're not on Twitter, Steve Poikinen over at AM Wake Up tagged Rockfin in a post, and they actually tagged Rumble and said, I'm killing it over on Rockfin, and you guys are holding us back. Someone then replied later on and said, Rockfin is, Rumble is a right-wing platform. And he said, yeah, but Rockfin is tanking their site, obviously, and that started a whole back and forth, and I jumped in, and it's a mess. And Rockfin just hasn't handled it professionally, and all they're doing is offering to offboard or offload your channel if you're not happy here. And it's a bunch of crap to treat people that have helped keep their platform afloat for years. And yeah, it's crazy. It's a crazy story, Sean. And Donnie, it's been a whole thing. I actually joined AM Wake Up at the end of the show, and I put out a Substack article to Indie Media Today about it on Friday. That you can watch the segment isolated where we talked about what happened, and it was just terribly unprofessional the way that they behaved. And we're treating literally the one who has the top streams over the course of a month from the free thinking media channel, segment of the Rockfin platform. All right, well, I could talk about inside baseball and stuff all night, and maybe that's another show that we'll do at some point. But we do have some news articles to get to tonight. Before we do that, I would like to make an appeal to everyone. If you are able and are of means, please support the media you want to see. These people already have. Thank you so much to everybody who has supported and tipped us and hooked us up. This week, I remember clearly Charlie Mack on Friday night, as well as Sean, definitely hooked us up. We got some PayPals on. Ooh, I get an echo on Wednesday night from INA News. So thank you to everyone. Natalie Brunel, I know she gave, I believe she gave $20 over on Cash App. So cash.app/$Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network, and INNnewsletter.com are the ways to support it that are the least way to have fees go and the most money to actually put into our pockets. So, yeah, we've got a nice lineup of stuff involving CIA. We've got also another journalist arrested. This time it's in Canada. We'll get there. Then we've also got an update on Dr. Hussam Abu Safia and a couple of other things to read and watch. But I wanted to, all right, let's get into it. First story is another crazy one. You know what? Before we do that, let me just hide my bookmarks. It'll just show more of the screen, and it looks better that way. Bingo. Let's come back and... Oh, sorry. All right. Network effects. I first heard about this publication 2 years ago connected to Matt Taibbi and the Twitter files, where Andrew Lowenthal's an Australian. He had handled one portion of it and then broke off to do his own thing to kind of back research the censorship industrial complex more in depth and try to rebuild it from the other side. So what he wrote here has to do with the fact that everybody's going crazy about, NED's being shut down. CIA's, they're talking about cutting people and their USAID is gone and what's happening here. And so many claim to have found the censor's secret lair, quote unquote, but it's actually more complicated than that. And I wanted to bring this because it just adds like a level of sensibility to it. So first of all, these are like the hubs and how they kind of interact with each other, but that they're all still kind of separate from each other. They still jockey for position. They still have their own agendas and egos, each one of these organizations, and how they want to be perceived. So what Andrew writes is that over the past 3 weeks, anyone interested in free speech or not has been on the receiving end of a non-consensual fire hose of flood the zone information warfare. Every man and his doge chimed in, capturing via screenshot a score of Osama bin Laden's censorship hideouts. It's USAID, it's NED, it's NIH. USAID in particular has been made responsible for everything from funding chemtrails in Naples to biting your own cheek. And it's a shame the word misinformation is of so little use anymore. USAID is important, but the censorship happens via a system comprising hundreds, possibly thousands of organizations, small and large. Is there a secret bunker? I don't know. It's possible, but the approach is cartoonish. This is why I brought this right here. This line was great. There are key nodes, organizations, and networks that are more important than others, particularly those that hand out the money. In fact, complex was the term that quickly gained favor during the Twitter files precisely because it captured the system's complexity. It's what made it work and what minimized public scrutiny. Now that is a lie. It's not a lie. What do you mean? Now that is a lie? Wait, you're muted. I don't hear you.
My muted. God, what is wrong with everything?
Where's the money, Lebowski?
Thank you.
That's what was supposed to play.
Yes, where is the money? Over the past couple of months, that LiberNet, which is Andrew's site, has built a database of almost 1,000 federal government awards from 2016 to 24 that went towards countering quote-unquote misinformation and other similar censorship pretexts. Now, this is crazy because he says this work aims to complement the mapping of the censorship industrial complex we did for Matt Taibbi. That work looked partly at government funding, but focused more on the leading censorship organizations and they're often public and private support. Not all of the 1,000 grants logged are dubious, but many are. We've been going through each by hand, which is really tedious, reading their project pages, papers, and reports to find out how big a problem they are. Can AI help? Well, yes, to a degree, but from what we've tried, AI can't yet really understand why one grant is horrible and the next one is just a bit meh. Maybe, but it also is being told not to look at that anyway, because that's only going to hurt the people that run the AI. All right. The map above is a sketch of where we think the funds have come from to date based on the analysis we've been able to do. I emphasize sketch because out of the almost 1,000 awards, he still has another 300 to 400 to review. But out of the 500 plus that he's looked at, around 200 are highly problematic and another 100 are extremely dubious. That's almost half. Keep in mind that we're only looking at grants that could be considered censorship, so anything that looked at misinformation, hate speech, information integrity, information operations, content moderation, fact-checking, etc. We aren't looking for grants for dubious woke culture war projects that have set the internet aflame the past couple of weeks. To give you an idea, the grants include, here, he minimizes one, NSF money to Medan, which is one of Twitter's four go-to organizations for COVID misinformation, to develop AI to spy on encrypted private messaging groups to weed out so-called misinformation. That's bad. Or more NSF money to the University of Illinois to track locations, people, and organizational affiliations of dubious COVID-19 information. That's also bad. Right? Based on whether they question CDC guidance. Once we finalize reviewing the remaining grants, we'll produce a much more accurate map and systemic analysis of how much each agency was funding censorship and who they were paying to do it. This teaser is because I have a bee in my bonnet about the dynamite fishing I'm seeing where a net, if not a rod, would be more useful. All right, the downside of dynamite is that it is indiscriminate. The Free Press reported last week that Chris Rufo was falsely accused of being a USAID shill because a computer program said so. And we talked about that computer program. That was that Republican funding site, that Red Fund or whatever. All right. That people didn't know. We argued people didn't know how to read the site, and they misinterpreted that taxpayer dollars were actually funding his Manhattan Institute, which they weren't, and a USAID shill. All right. And they did the same thing to The Intercept. He said in my previous post, I pointed out other errors being circulated as social media influencers feasted on fresh Doge kills. All right. They wanted to hype out everything. And it totally became partisan, by the way. He says, again, this isn't to say
for sure.
USAID isn't in large part a massive covert operation. It should be shut down and the actual humanitarian work shifted to an entirely new agency. The humanitarian work, the good stuff. Of course, they're going to shift the covert stuff elsewhere too, but they're not going to tell us. He says, our research shows a lot more censorship grants from State Department not getting shut down, and the National Science Foundation, to say nothing of the Pentagon, which has dropped among a slew of problematic awards, up to $1 billion counter disinformation contracts. $1 billion. I think that's actually what he ended up saying in the movie, like after the second one. He said $1 million and everybody laughed at him. He goes, what? Or did he say 100 billion? I don't remember. But to compare that $1 billion grant to a $100,000 grant and to an irrelevant woke NGO in Kenya is like putting an ant next to a whale. And I agree. I'd rather get that $100,000 to fund actual independent media that holds people accountable in the United States, but we know they don't want to pay any money to do that. He says, it's a complex. It'll take more than lobbying off a few government branches to get to the root of it, to say nothing of the private foundations supporting censorship and the slack the EU will no doubt pick up, which they already have started to do. All right. So I wanted to bring this one because I didn't really think that anybody else would bring an Andrew Lowenthal article about look, people are overhyping this whole USAID thing. And let me go back to his graphic really quickly. Yep. All right. His graphic.
But we got to give credit where credit's due.
Well, we don't. But
yeah, I ain't got no fucking credit to give, dog.
But these guys actually did map out where the money is coming from, and that is what ends up driving where the censorship is coming from.
Yes, which getting rid of everything has made that harder now to track and, go back through. And I'm sure it's laundered and whitewashed a whole load of money, especially to like businesses that, I don't know, put things up like Starlink over Ukraine. All those government funds from USAID probably not going to come out. So,
but CDC pushing money to HHS, NIH, and the FDA. That's a ton of money for research and development there, right? And a lot of COVID censorship came out of this, right? National Science Foundation, same thing, right? This is USAID in relation to the size of the Defense Department and CDC, HHS. And then you've got Homeland Security that's also kind of connected to the Defense Department, to DHS, to DOD. DHS, DOD, and State Department are all running regime change spy operations. And look at how little that Veterans Affairs thing is. But they're also trying to control the veterans narrative through the VA. All right. So who else is going to break down the censorship industrial complex funding like that for you? No, not too many people. So therefore, YouTube doesn't like it when we do that. And that's a quickie. So we're going to get through that one. Please, if you can, support the channel, tip us and hook us up with a couple of bucks. Reef needs some weed money. I just got a mic stand. It's so crazy. I've been doing this so long and my mic has always sat on my desk. And finally I broke down and I said, all right, I'm going to get one of those like kind of arms that clamps to the side of the desk and bring up the space. I wouldn't say that, but it's not a terribly expensive product. And it's really funny that the
money is there.
It is. And that's what's funny. Cause that's why you guys hook us up with that so that we can do things like that. And thank you for that. Cause yes, we need to purchase equipment and to cover our costs for the year. That's what we're trying to do, is cover our costs of streaming and of producing all the thumbnails and all the creative graphics and all the premium, everything else that we're doing to create a ton of content for you guys. AI subscription. What are your Midjourney, right? You have a Midjourney sub? Yep.
I do.
Yep. Midjourney's cool. If you guys haven't checked out Midjourney, and I think Reef may have a referral code if anybody needs it. Just DM.
I don't think so.
No, they don't do that.
I don't think they do referral codes. No.
Okay. Well, Oz the Boomer is here, and so is Cynic. Hi, how are you? Good to see everyone tonight. Indy got a third arm. Oh, a third arm or a third leg or something. Hey, now we're a family show. Vicky, good to see you as well. Hi, everybody.
Sorry, children.
Yeah, sorry about that. All right. Next story. I was going to talk about Ukraine and from a British perspective, and I'm deciding to punt on that a little bit. We're going to talk about it a little bit later, and I'm only going to kind of whip through the headline and say, let's read that later. But what I want to talk about instead is what happened on Friday, which is that author and activist, Canadian activist, you can see from the flag there, Yves Engler is spending the night in jail for speaking out against Zionism after prosecutors objected to his release. Another hearing is scheduled for tomorrow, but even then, his freedom is not guaranteed. We need to keep up the pressure. And this was on Thursday, all right, the 20th. Friday was the 21st. So what had happened was Yves got arrested. Why? Because he turned himself in. I'm going to bring the whole tweet. He turned himself in to Montreal police he was told that he was going, and this is a 20-minute video. I'm not going to play the whole thing. But effectively, somebody, a Canadian citizen, a Zionist citizen, charged him with harassment. All right. They came to arrest him, to take him in on that charge. And when he posted that he was being arrested for it, they then promised new charges of harassing police and obstructing their work for tweeting it. Crazy. All right. So our friend the dissident, the 307.substack.com, wrote an article about this saying, and he's Canadian, he's from Toronto. So the lawfare campaign against pro-Palestinian speech comes to Canada. Right? Canada is now joining the long list of Western countries to begin criminalizing anti-genocide speech. So he starts by saying, let me blow this up a little bit more. All right. On his website, the Canadian writer and author of the books Canada's Long Fight Against Democracy and Stand on Guard for Whom, A People's History of the Canadian Military, Yves Engler wrote, tomorrow the Montreal police will arrest me. The reason? He said it's because of his posting to social media against Israel's genocide in Gaza. He received a phone call from a Montreal police officer by the last name of Crivello, who asked him to come downtown to a downtown police station where I will be charged for harassment and indecent communication. He says, a complaint was submitted against me months ago by a legal firm on behalf of racist media personality Dahlia Kurtz. Crivello said I had described Kurtz as a genocide supporter and a fascist on Twitter. Guilty as charged. He is. He noted that on dozens of occasions, I've responded to her racist, violent anti-Palestinian posts on X. Before getting into the free speech issues, let's look at the facts. Dahlia Kurtz is a Canadian influencer who describes herself on her website as an award-winning radio talk show host, international speaker, and syndicated columnist. She's written for mainstream Canadian outlets like National Post. She hosts a radio show on Sirius XM and has over 40,000 followers on X. She is an open and proud supporter of Israel's mass murder campaign in Gaza. For context, Amnesty International has said that Israel is, quote, committing genocide against Palestinians in Gaza and concluded a lengthy report that there is sufficient basis to conclude that Israel has committed and is continuing to commit genocide against Palestinians in the occupied Gaza Strip. And you can now add the West Bank to that now that they've started to send tanks in as of this morning. The report found that, quote, Israel has carried out acts prohibited under the Genocide Convention with the specific intent to destroy Palestinians in Gaza. Irrefutable. Human Rights Watch similarly concluded that, quote, Israeli authorities are responsible for the crime against humanity of extermination and for acts of genocide by, quote, inflicted conditions of life calculated to bring about the destruction of part of the population in Gaza by intentionally depriving of Palestinian civilians there of adequate access to water, most likely resulting in thousands of deaths. Also food and supplies, medical supplies. The International Court of Justice also found that it's plausible that Israel has committed acts that violate the Genocide Convention. What a joke. Of course they have. Kurtz is a strong supporter of a mass murder campaign that the world's top human rights organizations have concluded is a genocide, and the ICJ has concluded is a plausible genocide. Calling her a genocide supporter is not harassment and indecent communications. It's a fact. Furthermore, she herself has engaged in some truly vile rhetoric on social media and on her Twitter page, where she sports over 41,000 followers. For starters, she has repeatedly engaged in atrocity denial, minimizing the well-documented fact that Israel is intentionally starving civilians in Gaza. She shared a video to social media of Palestinians celebrating the ceasefire in Gaza and wrote, quote, super energetic starving children in Gaza dancing in their cozy, clean, and warm sweaters whilst clearly freezing to death. The adults choreographing the celebration are their genocided obese parents. Oh my God. In another tweet, she shared a video that purported to show a Palestinian child holding a gun. For context, Israel holds youth military training camps as well, stating, quote, "That kid in Gaza doesn't look malnourished to me. Regular meals supplemented with guns and hate," unquote. Just awful. I would say the same stuff to her that Eve is, by the way. For context, this is propaganda used to deny the well-documented fact that Israel has been deliberately starving civilians in Gaza. The International Criminal Court has issued an arrest warrant against Bibi Netanyahu and former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant for the war crime of starvation as a method of warfare. The UN has also said that the Israeli blockade has caused, quote, 1 in 4 people to be starving and 9 out of 10 families in some areas to spend a day and night without food. And we read some of their stories last week. The, quote, integrated food security phase classification also found that the blockade would cause all 2 million people in Gaza to face acute food insecurity, with at least 1 in 4 households facing famine-like conditions. Yep, intentionally. It's called Starvation Plus, and it's a policy of Israel. Yep. Kurtz has also spread fake news to justify civilian casualties in Gaza. On Twitter, she published a fake news story without providing a link, stating, quote, "news," and I don't even want to say this because it's fake news and I don't want to get our channel popped for misinformation, but because it's in support of Israel, it probably wouldn't be. She claimed lyingly that about half of Gaza was aware of and involved in the October 7th massacre. That's ridiculous. Quote, terror,
insane.
Quote, terror network Al Jazeera published a propaganda program about the plan for October
network.
7th with the order, time, and day and time of 6:30 a.m. Instructions were disseminated amongst the innocent civilians of Gaza. Absolute fucking lie. This is clearly propaganda used to justify Israel's mass targeting of civilians in Gaza. It's reminiscent of videos the Israeli government has posted to social media that claim there are no innocent civilians in Gaza, which is also insane because infants are definitely not innocent, right? Israel? Insane.
Mm-hmm.
This is propaganda to justify Israel's targeting of civilians in Gaza, where the Geneva-based human rights organization's Euromed Monitor found that 9 out of every 10 people killed by Israel in Gaza are civilians, and the UN found that 70% of people killed are women and children. The ages most represented among the dead were 5 to 9-year-olds, and 80% of the victims were killed in residential buildings or similar housing, or they were sniped on the street by the IDF. Kurtz also supports the complete ethnic cleansing and annexation of Gaza. In response to Donald Trump's call to take over Gaza and force Palestinians into Jordan, Egypt, or other places, she said, "Goodbye, Gaza Strip. Hello, MAGA Strip." She's also on record saying that Gaza is not a country. Oh, yeah, she's just the worst. All right. So she had a journalist locked up, this cunt. Dahlia Kurtz has also engaged in extreme dehumanizing rhetoric. At one tweet, she called former Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar a rat and tweeted the dead rat of Gaza after he was killed. That's literally what they call people anti-Semites for tweeting about Jews. But she can do it about a Palestinian, and she's just fine. Kurtz has also extended this type of rhetoric to her political opponents. She quoted a clip from the Piers Morgan show where the Israeli intelligence asset Mohad Hassan Yosef called the political commentator Cenk Uygur a parasite for his support of Palestine, and which Cenk doesn't even really support Palestine. He claims he does, but then he supports the Democrats who don't, so he doesn't really. He wants to, but he can't really. He also has repeatedly called for pro-Palestinian protesters to be deported to Gaza, like even though they're American, and she's not, while it was being bombed by Israel. Insane. She once tweeted out, "Now it's time to send all those death-chanting Intifada University students to Gaza." How about we send her to Gaza? How about we send her to the West Bank without any armor? or weapons. In response to an anti-Zionist Jewish protest that took place against the genocide in Gaza at Canada's Parliament building, she said, quote, "These quote-unquote Jews love Gaza so much, I have no problem sending them all there with my own money. It's an investment."
No, she won't. She wouldn't.
Nope. In response to a university campus protest against the genocide in Gaza, she said, quote, "They clearly belong together in Gaza." Of all the lawfare campaigns I've covered against pro-Palestine figures, this one has to take the cake for the most ludicrous yet. Yves Engler has criticized a public figure who has denied documented war crimes, spread fake news to justify the murder of civilians, called for the ethnic cleansing of Gaza, called her political opponents parasites, and called to deport her political opponents to Gaza. And for this, he's being arrested for, quote, "harassment and indecent communication."
Mm-hmm.
The fact that the Montreal police are going along with this case is truly terrifying. But it's part of a much larger lawfare campaign against those who oppose the genocide in Gaza. Like we've documented well on this show, the UK government has now gone after Richard Medhurst, Richard Barnard, Sarah Wilkinson, Asa Winstanley, and Miko Peled for their reporting and activism on Palestine. Switzerland briefly jailed journalist Ali Abunimah when he was supposed to give a talk in Palestine in the country, and Germany also issued a warrant for his arrest last April when he gave a speech remotely, in July. Austria has recently joined the British legal case against journalist Richard Medhurst for his reporting on Palestine. This new case against Yves Engler is just the latest development in the growing criminalization of pro-Palestine and anti-genocide speech in the Western world. This is a really good piece I like by the dissident. Support independent media, support our friend, the 307.substack.com. I believe he is trying to go full-time. He set up a Patreon last week, but you can subscribe here over on Substack as well. He's got paid subs turned on. All right. Who the hell starts her bio with, "I'm a Jew and granddaughter of Holocaust survivors"? Is that the new get out of jail free card? Terrible. Just terrible stuff. So getting back to Yves, here's his tweet the other day. You can't make this up. Initially, the Montreal police accused me of harassing an anti-Palestinian media personality because I posted about Israel's genocide. Now they're charging me for harassing the police for writing about the charges leveled against me. At 9:30 a.m. tomorrow, the Montreal police are set to arrest me. Today, an officer told me they will detain me overnight or until I'm brought before a judge. And guess when they did it? What day of the week? Friday.
Friday.
You know why? Because they can hold him for the whole fucking weekend and he's still sitting in jail right now. Here's the story again. On Tuesday, a police investigator, Crivello, said they were charging me at the behest of anti-Palestinian activist Dalia Kurtz. The police officer said I had described her as a genocide supporter and fascist on Twitter, which is true. I promptly wrote about the charges, and the Canadian Foreign Policy Institute organized an email letter campaign which saw 2,500 outraged people call on the cops to drop the Kurtz-sponsored charges. Angry at receiving emails
right away.
Well, here's what happened. Angry at receiving emails and my article, the police were seeking release conditions, barring me from discussing the charges leveled against me. The police are now claiming I'm victimizing them. They're Israeling themselves. Today, a new investigator called to say investigator Crivello feels threatened by my writing about the charges leveled against me.
Oh, it's scary.
The Montreal police will be charging me with intimidation, harassment, harassing communication, and entrave, which is interference, towards Crivello. The police investigator also announced that they will be holding me overnight out of fear that I may relapse. In other words, I might once again write about the absurd charges leveled against me. Guilty as charged. Over the past 24 hours, I've received multiple messages about frivolous cases brought against others opposing genocide. The abuse of police and legal system to target opponents of genocide is a greater problem than I realized. I'm trying to make sense of Kurtz's bizarre bid not to block me on X, but claim I'm harassing her. Perhaps she's trying to monetize her status as a victim of hate. On her site, she writes, quote, "If you want to help save Canada from hate and extremism, please donate by e-transfer to me." After working for... She claims that after years of working for media outlets, she's now independent, so she can say the truth. Oh, this sounds like somebody that the song Pull String was written about. All right. This also means her personal security is under constant threat. So you can make a difference. My work is funded solely by your support. Her personal security isn't under threat. Nobody's threatening anything on her security. They called her a fascist genocide supporter and a genocide denier and an Israel supporter. I mean, Jesus Christ. A lawyer is looking into pursuing legal action against Kurtz, but it's the police that really need to be held accountable. The initial charges were an abuse of state authority, and adding new charges for criticizing them is beyond absurd. The Montreal police apparently have no qualms about acting in service of Israel's slaughter in Gaza. More than 100,000 have been killed, and almost everyone has been displaced. About 70% of the buildings are destroyed, and most agricultural land damaged. The police targeting opposition to Israel's crimes is an embarrassment. The particular charges are ridiculous. The notion that someone can publicly attack Palestinians, repeatedly call Canada's prime minister an anti-Semite and supporter of terror, engage in a Conservative Party candidate as a lawyer to convince police to lay charges and authorities to go along with it, simply incredible. Then for police to claim they're being victimized by emails critical of the ridiculous charges, I'm at a loss for words. What parallel universe have we slipped into? Well, it's a Nazi universe, Eve. Please email the Montreal mayor and police chief to demand they drop the charges against Yves Engler. If you're in Montreal, some people will be accompanying him when he is detained in the morning. So he wrote this Wednesday night. He goes Thursday and turns himself in. All right, that's this video here. And again, we're not going to play it.
Drop the charges!
I'll go through it. You know, he's got people around him, and then he gives a speech, and he explains what's happening to him, and then he goes and turns himself in, gets arrested, and they take him away. So then what had happened, Alex Tyrell, who's apparently his friend who's reporting on what's happening, this afternoon at 2:45, and this was, I believe, Thursday on the 20th. This afternoon at 2:45, Yves Engler appeared in court via video link on charges related to his criticisms of a Zionist media personality. The Crown opposed his release without providing a reason. A bail hearing was set for tomorrow, meaning he will spend the night in jail. Engler appeared without his glasses, struggling to see the screen. When asked if he had legal representation, he confirmed that he was represented by lawyer John Philpott, but then cut off mid-sentence when attempting to discuss conditions. When he asked why his release was opposed, the judge dismissed his question, saying it was at the prosecutor's discretion and advised him not to speak. Very Kafkaesque. A not guilty plea was recorded. When Yves tried to ask about his political rights, the judge again cut him off, and he was quickly led out of the room. To support him on his website, please donate, yvesengler.com/donate. All right, I'm going to put that in the chat for everyone. All right, and unbelievable what's going on here. And he is, again, still in jail for the weekend. I saw on the Gray Zone stream, and Aaron Mate even tweeted out about it. Here, update. Where is it? I could have sworn I saw something where on the 21st and the 22nd, they also reported that he was still in jail. He has not tweeted since. And I don't know if that's because he's afraid he's going to get arrested again, or if he isn't even out of jail yet. But this was the last tweet that, oh, here we go. Yves' father here providing an update, who is currently detained at Bordeaux jail until at least Monday. Today, the prosecutors refused to free him unless he would agree not to speak publicly about the case, including naming directly or indirectly the influencer who filed the complaint against him. Why should he?
Right.
Yves will have a bail hearing Monday at 9 a.m. He's called for supporters to attend. The hearing will determine whether or not he will be freed pending trial and if he will be allowed to write in detail about what is happening to him, including naming the complaint and the police officer who have accused him of harassment, even though he's already done that. He has no interest in naming the police officer, but insists that he should be able to name the influencer who regularly publishes hateful anti-Palestinian content online. If you support him, please come to the Palace de Justice at 1 Notre Dame East at room 312 on Monday at 9 a.m. You can also support his work by donating at his website. This is crazy. I mean, this is crazy town we're at, people. We're taking crazy pills here.
Yep. Am I taking crazy pills?
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills here. For real. Like, what the fuck is going on here? That they're like, we're calling out. Are they going to start suing U.S. citizens for harassing tweets on as well? I mean, that's worrisome. I mean, using lawfare in Canada, they've obviously found some Canadian law. I believe that it's why they're trying to pass a lot of these stop anti-Semitism laws in the United States right now.
Yep.
Okay.
Same reason.
To criminalize supporting any Palestinians at all, that they're all of a sudden going to deem any Palestinian whatsoever a terrorist, which is also insane. How is a 6-month-old baby a terrorist? Explain that to me. Square that circle. You go ahead. Other than to say, well, they're going to grow up to terrorize us. Well, why would they possibly do that? What kind of motivation would you be giving them to do that? A 6-month-old baby would have motivation to want to grow up and kill you? Why? I can't imagine. I can't. Well, Yves needs support, but so does INN. So if you are able to at a means, please tip your streamers, hook up INN, help us cover our expenses for the year, and do some really cool stuff. We want to send Jett to Third Eye Carnival in April. We're going to see if we can make that happen. Or they may schedule another Third Eye Carnival later on in the year, closer to him, an event that he can more easily attend. Third Eye Carnival is a weekend camping trip hangout where there are podcasters, musicians, comedians, all come together to discuss what's really happening out there, and then solutions on how do we move forward together to opt out of the system and do some cool stuff, outside of the Zionist control and outside of the technocratic panopticon that we are now all being sucked into. And credit to, I don't even know who said it, but I've heard it from Whitney. I heard it from Fiorella, said it 4 years ago. I remember very clearly. And Jimmy Dore made a face when she said it. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen. His reaction to that was amazing. Anyway.
Bunch of losers.
Who? Who are we talking about?
Anybody? I don't know. What?
Minnesota!
Desert Mantis. Oh, God. I was killed by a 6-month-old baby once. Well, that is that must be Israel's position. All right. I can't imagine there are other excuses. Yeah, praying for him, and it sucks what's going on there. For sure. Yeah, yvesengler.com/donate if you are able to and of means as well. He certainly is going to need legal support and help to fight this, because he's got the Zionists fighting against him, and we know that Zionists, I used to be one. They love their lawyers. All right.
Meanwhile, at the Legion of Doom.
What? I'm not showing myself as a real person. Don't worry, Bad Wolf. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do a face reveal. I I made a commitment a long time ago to my family. They didn't sign up for this, and that's the reason why I do that, is to protect them. I've already had people in my world ask, tell me about your podcast. I want to listen to it. No, I don't want anybody to know about it in my real life, because if they do, then they won't be in my real life for long, would be my guess. Or a lot of those people, sadly. And it hurts that I can't really be honest with them about the way things really are, but I don't think that there are certain people that would still continue to engage with me, and I don't want to lose those people in my life over this shit that none of us have any control over. They're being brainwashed and manipulated, and they're where I was 5 years ago. They just don't want to know. They don't want to know. They're sticking their heads in the sand. And when you try to wake them up, they get angry about it and resentful, and it sucks. It's not that they're whitewashing it at all. I really don't feel like they are. I feel like it's painful to look at. They have no control and no power over it. And to speak out against it will only cause them pain and suffering, which, you know what? Israel's causing pain and suffering too. So
American bullshit.
Yeah, it is American bullshit. All right. This is an interesting piece that I brought from Carrie Wedler. I don't know if you guys know who she is. She's an independent. I saw her on Slow News Day a few months ago. She's great. Misty adores her. She's one of her favorite people. She says that this is one of the people that's actually keeping her sane. Carrie disappeared for a while. She was heavy in the independent scene, very similar to me, almost like a Whitney Webb type. Did a lot of independent research, and then had a burnout, a meltdown, and flipped out and disappeared out of the space for a couple of years. And she wrote an article about, is the CIA finally going down? And I think it's really to try to wake up the MAGA people that are deluded by the fact that, the changes are really just a reshuffling of the deck, and how it's not really we're not really dismantling anything. How we're not really dismantling even the Defense Department. This Pete Hegseth thing, where Hegseth is ordering 40%, 8% cuts across the board. It's bullshit. They're just shifting the money. All right. So she writes this article. I think it's trolling MAGA. Is the CIA finally going down? Trump's new director of the quintessential deep state agency has received far less attention than his anti-establishment picks. And this is really a deep dive on the new CIA director, John Ratcliffe, and who he is. All right, because many Americans rejoiced last week as anti-establishment icons, RFK Jr. and Tulsi Gabbard, secured cabinet confirmations. Debatable whether they're anti-establishment icons, but okay. This week, many are cheering Kash Patel's Senate approval for FBI director. Between their rise to power and the flurry of headlines around Elon Musk's Doge, many Americans feel hopeful about the country's apparent new trajectory, which is insane. Many are celebrating that the deep state is finally going down because they're believing the lies being sold to them by the deep state. Interestingly, however, there is little conversation about Trump's pick to head the CIA, a quintessential deep state agency. John Ratcliffe has not received the same hype as Trump's perceived disruptive appointments. Unlike RFK Jr., Gabbard, and Patel, who built their reputations largely on opposing the established order, Ratcliffe falls much more in line with that establishment. So she talks about the Swamp 2.0, that Ratcliffe, who's an attorney, is an alumni of the the George Bush administration, the W. He may have lied about his accomplishments during his tenure. He was also a partner at a law firm founded by notorious Bush Attorney General John Ashcroft, who shamelessly peddled the Patriot Act when he was in power. Ashcroft even... Go ahead.
Sorry.
Ashcroft even spoke on Ratcliffe's behalf at the CIA confirmation hearing in January, lending him his profound support, which to me immediately should have been disqualifying. If John Ashcroft is behind you, you need to go. All right. Ratcliffe was a Texas congressman from 15 to 20, during which time he voted to reauthorize FISA's Section 702 warrantless surveillance. He also repeatedly voted to fund gargantuan military spending. This included the ongoing codification of the indefinite detention of U.S. citizens established during the Obama years. Thanks, Obama. He went on to serve as Director of National Intelligence toward the end of Trump's first term. During this time, he drew criticism for, among many things, impeding and possibly lying about the release of information regarding the Saudi state-sanctioned murder of Jamal Khashoggi, journalist.
Be rude.
While he challenged the prevailing establishment narratives about Trump and Russia and promoted the COVID lab leak theory after Trump left office, these are the only examples that Carey could find of a deviation from the status quo. More recently, Ratcliffe worked as a senior advisor for a firm called American Global Strategies. AGS, among other services, helps clients, quote, devise strategies for navigating United States government processes, policies, and regulations. They serve clients.
What's there to fucking navigate? First of all, what is it, like a map? We're going to get lost in Chuck E. Cheese if, you know.
Well, knowing who to contact for procurement and that type of stuff is certainly, it's a web.
Sure.
They serve
navigating
clients
the
because
United States healthcare system. Sorry.
We're navigating the healthcare system. Dude, I remember that. That's a great episode.
Yeah, it is.
South Park.
Anyway.
They serve so AGS serves clients in defense, aerospace, automotive, maritime, technology, energy, finance, and private equity. In other words, some of the most politically entrenched industries. Okay, the firm's leadership embodies the insidious relationship between government and the private sector. In one example, the CEO worked in the first Trump administration and currently consults for Ballard, a corporate lobbying firm that previously employed Susie Wiles, who's Trump's current chief of staff. There's conflicts of interest all over the place. He's also a member of a military-industrial complex trade group, of course. So, of course, Ratcliffe is neocon approved. Despite much of Trump's anti-establishment rhetoric, Ratcliffe is anything but. Last year, he criticized the wildly pro-Israel Biden administration for not supporting Israel enough. He also called out Biden for not supporting Ukraine early enough. Right. Further, Ratcliffe highlights largely the same threats the establishment does: Iran, China, and North Korea, to name a few. I'm guessing he'll throw Mexico and Venezuela in there too. Probably Cuba.
Oh, Mexico.
Unsurprisingly, former Trump-appointed CIA Director Mike douchebag Pompeo advocated for Ratcliffe's nomination. So you've got all the worst people in the world lining up to support him, and of course, he was confirmed. Pompeo is also known for his staunch neoconservatism and alleged plan to assassinate Julian Assange while heading the CIA himself. Quote, John Ratcliffe is the right person to lead the CIA to gather and share intelligence and protect us from threats. An outstanding selection for CIA, Pompeo tweeted upon the news of the nomination in November. As one commentator replied, oh, hell, you like him? We're fucked.
We're fucked.
I think that's the commentator. No, it's not. It's this one. It's Colleen. Kathleen Colleen. All right, back to the article. This is not exactly the disruptor that so many are celebrating in Kennedy and Gabbard and Patel, who all have their own hypocrisies, and she's done pieces on them. Unlike these establishment personalities, Ratcliffe handily won the anti-establishment people. Ratcliffe handily won the confirmation vote with 72 to 26, earning approval from numerous Democrats because they're all part of a uniparty. Very little news has come out of CIA since Trump took office, though there is reportedly a buyout offer intended to help reshape the agency around Trump's national security policies and priorities. This buyout suggests to the MAGA base that Ratcliffe is on their side and has a plan to challenge the dark forces trying to undermine the president and his crusade. It's just
and this is the Ratcliffe that like Harry Potter, right? No?
No,
that
that's
Radcliffe?
That's Daniel Radcliffe with a D.
Gotcha.
No.
So anyway,
no,
back to this Ratfuck guy. What?
No Expelliarmus.
What about Ratfuck?
Yes, his name is John Ratfuck. That's right. It's just not clear that the plan and crusade are consistent with dismantling the power and reach of of shadowy government agencies that have long evaded accountability, because they need those. Is this a shakeup or is it status quo? It's not just Ratcliffe's track record in Congress, neocon Pompeo's blessing, or his time at AGS that cast doubt into his trustworthiness. That's not even enough. During his confirmation hearing for Director of National Intelligence, he refused to disavow the use of torture. During his CIA hearing, he reaffirmed his support for FISA Section 702, which the CIA employs. And in the same hearing, he asserted the CIA needs to be active in the war on drugs and the border crisis. So there's the Mexico angle and Venezuela, echoing the Trump administration's aggressive stance on cartels and border security. Indeed, it was reported this week that CIA is now flying surveillance drones over Mexico at the apparent request of Mexico's president, who's cooperated with Trump over tariff threats. They got Scheinbaum in line. Now she's in Linebaum. Come on, that's funny.
Don't let your light shine down.
She's Claudia get in Linebaum. All right. This hardline support for Israel and accompanying saber rattling about Iran cast further doubt on the likelihood that the new CIA director is a threat to the established order. It also aligns with many of Trump's appointments and the president himself, by the way. So again, Swamp 2.0, here's the swamp of the future. Ratfuck's appointment also signals a new frontier in governance that aligns with Trump's partnerships with technocratic oligarchs who are going all in on military-industrial profiteering. Per official disclosures, after concluding his stint as Trump's DNI, Ratfuck worked in an advisory role for multiple artificial intelligence companies that contract with the U.S. government. I wonder if the military was involved there. In return, The Intercept reported he received stock options he promised to sell before taking over CIA. So he's going to cash out and become a multimillionaire and probably buy Bitcoin with it because he knows that the Trump administration is about to pump Bitcoin and create a strategic Bitcoin reserve and become a multimillionaire.
I'm going to come.
I might too. The companies that he advised include Latent. Latent is currently contracting with the U.S. Navy. Arctop is a cognition company that's currently studying the brain activity of Air Force cadets in training. And Shield AI, which is contracting with the Air Force to enable swarms of drones and aircraft to operate autonomously without GPS communications or a pilot. With a project called Hive Mind. I believe this reminded me of Reef and Colin did a segment about an AI drone, and Colin was absolutely freaked out. The look on his face when they send the drone and it explodes right in the dummy's forehead, blowing his head off, and Colin's eyes jumped to Beetlejuice level opening. Oh my God. It was so damn funny and frightening. So he's investing in these AI technologies. He's vowed not to make decisions at CIA that involve contractors noted in his disclosures.
I smell Andoril coming. I smell that Andoril. Delicious smell of Andoril. Palantir, yes. Zantac the Wise sees you through his Palantir. Yeah.
But his broader belief in the role of AI in government, this is important. His broader belief in the role of AI in government is on its own a cause for concern. As with the continuance of revolving door dynamics, this is a perpetuation of the agency's pre-existing priority of incorporating artificial intelligence. Some might protest, like you do. Some might protest that Ratcliffe will answer to Gabbard, which will keep him in line. However, She flip-flopped on 702, at least ahead of and during her confirmation hearings. She went from calling Trump Saudi Arabia's bitch and condemning his warmongering to falling in line and excusing his neocon-riddled first term. I, for one, am not counting...
Everybody be clout chasing.
Redman, man. Go hook up Newark's Redman. I, for one, Carrie, for one, and I with her, am not counting on her integrity to rein in the CIA. No. It's wholly understandable that people feel hopeful at the changing of the guard. While it appears on the surface that a great transformation for the better is occurring, it is vital to stay vigilant and critical. Amen. The authoritarian technocracy continues to advance at the same time as restrictions on speech, continued militarism, and business-as-usual corporatism, alongside a never-ending onslaught of MAGA sycophants binding themselves to this reality, plus the inclusion and adoption and rapid implementation of AI, which we know has tons of slop and garbage in. It's a serious problem that nobody wants to address. All right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. So shout out to Carrie Wedler. That's a kick-ass that was a kick-ass article. You can follow her.
What a crowd.
Follow her on Twitter. What's her Twitter handle? Hang on, Carrie. I think it's just at Carrie Wedler. Carrie _ Wedler. Carrie CAREY _ Wedler WEDLER. Go give her a follow on Twitter. She's great.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. All right. We got a nice crowd here. Everybody's hanging out. Tulsi Gabagool. I love it. Same kill. All right. If you search YouTube. Shout out Golden Monarch. If you search YouTube for Kanye West meme coin, I kid you not, YouTubers have videos about sniping Kanye West memes. You can't make this up. Yeah, exactly, Bad Wolf.
They'll buy poison. They'll buy anything.
Garbage in, garbage out on the AI. And I think that there is a lot of garbage going in on the AI. All right.
And crown thy good into temptation, but deliver us from the twilight. Amen.
That's right. So we get censored for stuff like this. We got demonetized for stuff like this. So please, if you are able to, hook us up somewhere else other than on YouTube. The ways to do that are Cash App, Ko-fi, PayPal, and at INNnewsletter.com. You can do so with a one-time, monthly, or even an annual support over at INN Newsletter. Everybody on that board already has, and we love them deeply for it. Thank you so much, really, for all of the support that we get. We cannot do this without you. We are solely user-funded. We do not have promo codes. We do not do ad reads. We do not do sponsorships. We are here because we feel like that is potentially compromising. If you are, hesitant to criticize somebody that an advertiser might like, or criticize an advertiser directly, or criticize, there's just a lot of potential conflicts of interest that can be brought up by doing the sponsorship thing, which is why we feel like, to have the ultimate integrity, you need to be doing this solely user-funded. Otherwise, you're going to, at some point, have somebody turn to you and tell you they don't like the way that you're covering something and insist that you not cover something or whatever it is. And we've seen that repeatedly. We've seen people have blind spots because there are people that they like that have big gaps and big inconsistencies and big conflicts of interest, and just kind of look the other way and not discuss it, let other people discuss it, and not necessarily defend it, but also not go hard on things that we know that they would ordinarily go hard on. And I don't want to see that happen here. So that's why we need you to help keep us honest so that we can help keep everybody else honest. So, yes, Israel's attempt at setting a hummus world record was thwarted by a saboteur.
Hummus.
A saboteur. Very nice. A saboteur, mastermind. That's very good.
Sabotage.
Shout out to Mastermind. DD just wrapped up. Shout out to Do Dissidents.
You sure the censorship isn't about like
cocksucker motherfucker and tits?
Motherfucker
like that, like saying stuff like that?
Cocksucker motherfucker tits. Motherfucker tits.
Cocksucker mother tits.
You gotta say it with the flame. Motherfucker tits. Come on, that's George Carlin for those who don't know. I grew up on that. As has Reef.
Flowers arrive at once, too late.
All right. I got one more story, then we can do the quick articles and move on to uncensored boats. For those who don't know, we're going to do Boats Uncensored tonight. We're not going to be on YouTube. We will be on Rumble the Ocho. We will be on Kick. We will be on BitChute. And we will be on Odyssey. But we will not, and we'll be on Twitch and Twitter. But we won't be on YouTube tonight. So we'll put the link in the chat at the end of the show so everyone can go there. The last story, we haven't checked in with our friend Kevin Gostola in a while. Kevin has been focused a lot on press freedom and on journalists being arrested in the United States. And of course, he's one of the preeminent, prominent Assange journalists. And he had been covering a story that we've been covering on this show for a while about people who visited Assange in the Ecuadorian embassy that were suing the CIA for violating their privacy rights. Now, he writes this for The Dissenter, thedissenter.org. Give them a follow. Kevin is an Indie Media Award honoree. The Dissenter is an extension of Shadowproof, which also as a publication was an honoree. So what he writes here is burying the CIA's secrets, Assange secrets. CIA won the dismissal of a lawsuit brought by 4 Americans who claim that they had their privacy rights violated when they visited Assange in the London, Ecuadorian embassy. This is some shit right here. Right? And he says, the following article was made possible by paid subs of The Dissenter. Become a paid sub and support independent journalism on government secrecy, press freedom, and whistleblowing. Kevin's one of the best out there. Big fan. I am a paid supporter in all disclosure. You see that little dot there.
Mm-hmm.
A United States judge dismissed a lawsuit pursued by, let me make this a little bigger, 4 American attorneys and journalists who allege that the CIA and former director Mike Pompeo spied on them while they were visiting the WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange in Ecuador's London embassy. The subject matter of this litigation, Judge Kettle determined, quote, is subject to the state secrets privilege in its entirety, unquote. Any answer to the allegations against the CIA, quote, would reveal privileged information, unquote. Few publications followed. Julian, nice.
WikiLeaks.
Leahy.
Julian Assange's.
That's Leahy.
The LickyLeaks.
LickyLeaks. That's right. Shout out to Trailer. Shout out to Trailer Park Boys.
WikiLeaks.
Few publications and few publications follow this case as closely as The Dissenter, and thanks to him, few shows have followed this case as closely as How Did We Miss That? It unfolded at the same time that the U.S. government pursued the extradition of Assange, making any outcome potentially significant.
We are the United States government. We don't
do that here. We do not do that sort of thing. R.I.P. James Earl Jones.
Fucking dummy.
Yeah.
On August 15, 2022, Margaret Ratner Kunstler, all right, a civil rights activist. No, not Nomiki. Kunstler, a civil rights activist and human rights attorney, and Deborah Herbeck, a media lawyer, filed their complaint. Journalist Charles Glass and former Der Spiegel reporter John Getz also joined them as plaintiffs. The lawsuit claimed that the plaintiffs, like all visitors, were required to surrender their electronic devices to employees of Undercover Global, a Spanish security company managed by David Morales that was hired by Ecuador to handle embassy security. They were unaware that UC Global had allegedly copied the information stored on the devices and shared the information with CIA. Pompeo allegedly approved the copying of visitors' passports, including pages with stamps and visas. He ensured that all computers, laptops, mobile phones, recording devices, and other electronics brought into the embassy were seized, dismantled, imaged, photographed, and digitized. This included the collection of IMEI and SIM codes from visitors' phones, which means they also got their contact lists.
Yeah,
Morales,
well, that should be easy. But I mean, not that I would know anything, but a little Flipper Zero would be able to handle that. But yes,
Morales and UC Global were named as defendants in the lawsuit. However, due to the fact that they weren't in the U.S., the claims against them were never really litigated. They did have to testify in a Spanish court, though.
Mm-hmm.
In December 2023, Kettle dismissed multiple claims that were filed against CIA, but remarkably, he found that the 4 Americans who had visited Assange had grounds to sue the CIA for violating their reasonable expectation of privacy under the Fourth Amendment. Which makes sense. You are an American citizen entering sovereign territory in an embassy of another country. You should have the reasonable expectation that your privacy would be protected and not scraped by the CIA.
Did you ever work for the CIA?
Soon after, the court was notified that CIA would assert the state secrets privilege to block the lawsuit. What a surprise. Bill Burns, Russiagator, notorious, who was CIA director, submitted a declaration in April of last year that asserted a serious and exceptionally grave damage to the national security of the U.S. would occur if the case proceeded. It actually would just embarrass the people involved, which is why they really don't want to.
It's a mystery! It's a mystery wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma!
The government adequately supported its invocation of the state secrets privilege in its public and sealed declarations, according to the judge. Kettle later stated, quote, the government persuasively argues that requiring the CIA to acknowledge whether or not it took certain intelligence gathering activities in a foreign embassy could have serious national security repercussions for the U.S.
Could.
Even though Assange no longer lives at the embassy and UC Global no longer provides security there. Yes, we violated their sovereign rights, Ecuador's. And what are we going to do to make them whole about that? However, as with numerous cases where the state secrets privilege is invoked to deny plaintiffs their day in court, the invocation effectively confirms that intelligence gathering activities were undertaken against Assange at the Ecuadorian embassy. We already saw the footage of that. After all, it's not like stating CIA didn't engage in such activities would result in serious national security repercussions. In September 2021, as a reminder, Yahoo News published an investigation based on conversations with more than 30 former U.S. officials, 8 of whom described details of the CIA's proposals to abduct Assange. Pompeo allegedly championed proposals to abduct him after WikiLeaks published Vault 7 materials in 2017 that embarrassed the hell out of CIA. Pompeo favored a rendition operation that would involve breaking into the Ecuadorian embassy and dragging him out and bringing him to the U.S. via a third country, that third country being the United Kingdom. Quote, a less extreme version of the proposal involved U.S. operatives snatching him from the embassy and turning him over to British authorities. He ended up in Belmarsh, so that's kind of what happened. Well, actually, what happened was there was a regime change. We regime changed Ecuador. The new president traded Julian Assange's freedom for an IMF loan, and the British police went in and took him out at the U.S.'s request. Kettle referred to the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling in a state secrets privilege case on March 3rd, 2022. It involved the CIA and stemmed from an attempt by Abu Zubaydah, a high-profile Guantanamo Bay prisoner, to subpoena 2 CIA contractors named James Mitchell and Bruce Jessen. Both were architects of the agency's torture program who interrogated him at a black site in Poland. CIA invoked the state secrets privilege to block Zubaydah from seeking testimony that could be used in a Polish criminal investigation. The Supreme Court overturned an appeals court decision that asserted the privilege did not cover all the information requested. They're just protecting every bad fucking thing we've done. You cannot ever let it out, ever, till everybody's dead, buried, long gone. As the dissenter has emphasized, the 1953 case known as U.S. v. Reynolds that established the state secrets privilege is rooted in fraud. After a military plane crash, the government refused to tell the victims' families how their loved ones had died because officials claimed that would reveal secrets. But decades later, families filed a lawsuit after reading declassified U.S. Air Force documents. The lawsuit concealed its fraud for decades, holding the accident reports and witness statements as classified materials until the 90s, even though they contained no secrets and had no conceivable further utility. That's what the family said. Indeed, that was the Air Force's purpose in classifying them, to bury them so deep and so long that no one would find them, unquote. Burying secrets so deep and for so long that the public doesn't find them is typically the CIA's objective when they invoke the state secrets privilege. They have buried a 6,300-page Senate intelligence report on CIA rendition, detention, and torture during the global war on terror. They're now burying their Assange secrets. Of course they are. The decision all but ensures that the CIA will be able to conceal what they allegedly did to Assange, WikiLeaks, and his supporters for several decades. The agency, with support from justice, has already frustrated a Spanish court trying to prosecute Morales and other UC Global employees for alleged criminal acts. It was always unlikely that Assange's defense would uncover details about the CIA's alleged actions and share those revelations during an Espionage Act trial. The restrictions the government and courts imposed on defendants come with procedures to shield the CIA from scrutiny, because God forbid anybody would ever hold them accountable.
No.
When prosecution against Assange ended in a plea deal in last June, that benefited the CIA, even if it wasn't the outcome that current and former high-ranking officials had desired. CIA would never have to worry about the agency's actions being discussed by the press and on social media during a high-profile trial. That was never going to happen.
Yep.
Of course, there's also the matter of CIA allegedly violating the privacy rights of Assange visitors, while the U.S. government targeted a journalist living under political asylum in a foreign embassy. The U.S.
No one is above the law.
Except for her and all CIA. And Trump and Elon Musk and all the Republicans. The U.S. news media never showed much interest in the CIA's actions, however. Let's not forget there was widespread global opposition to the Assange prosecution, and that's what helped end the case. The agency is right to be concerned that if more was known about what happened, it might erupt into an international scandal. I wish it did. Fucking terrible.
Yep.
Not many people talking about Julian Assange and about this trial and about the censorship that's going on with it and the fact that the lawsuit was dismissed. Fuck the CIA. And I hope our handler is listening. Fuck your bosses. Your boss's name is John Ratfuck for the next 4 years. Okay?
Sorries.
Oh, don't be sorry. I think that was wonderful. Yes.
Yep.
Fuck the CIA. So, because we say fuck the CIA, we get demonetized on YouTube. And these amazing people have already helped out our channel. They have tipped their streamers and supported the media they want to see. And we love them and appreciate them for it. That's why they're on our wall of fame. You can join them by supporting at Cash App, $ Indie News Network, ko-fi.com/Indie News Network, paypal.me/Indie News Network, and at innnewsletter.com, where you can subscribe monthly or on an annual basis. All right. Quick ones we're going to run through.
I am once again asking for your financial support.
I must be going fast.
Yeah.
These are shorties. All right. Here's our wall of fame.
FBI, open up!
Now, this was the story that I was going to do, and I wanted to kind of do something about Ukraine, but there's so much happening, and there are so many ongoing developments that I felt like whatever I brought would be missing something. So I did like this article by Ricky over at Council State Media and Anti-Imperialist Nexus. So go check this out. Neoliberals would prefer war with Russia to peace in Ukraine. And it's a very British-focused article talking about how that peace could even spell the end of NATO. Because Trump wants... And I also heard rumors of a 700 billion euro package from the Europeans. From the Europeans to Ukraine. All right. Because Trump is obviously looking to negotiate a peace out of this.
There was talks of a whole new NATO with hookers and gambling. If I remember correctly. Correct?
Is that what he said? He
said
NATO,
BRICS is
over.
a NATO without the country. Like Zelensky was like, we should have a NATO without America.
Oh, is that what he said? That's
okay.
good. He said he would step. He said he would step down if they allowed Ukraine to join NATO. But that's still a hard no, and he's got no standing and no word, nothing in no skin in the game at this point. Like he's got to basically say do whatever we say. But I also wanted to mention
last push was to hopefully get that nuclear power plant. They didn't do that.
Right.
They didn't keep that. So like now they're like, ain't got nothing.
So we did briefly ship arms. We did briefly apparently pause arms shipments to Ukraine. But of course we resumed them last weekend. However,
are you sure about that?
Now, this is false. Reuters is lying. They are second only to the AP as legacy news liars. That is from the liar-in-chief, Elon Musk, the actual president, the one who bought the office. But Brian Bertelic of the New Atlas comes with an elbow, says that shutting off Starlink used by Ukrainian forces, including neo-Nazi units to kill Russians, is one of the easiest steps that the U.S. could take to prove their intentions to end their own proxy war on Russia. Instead, Musk has not only allowed Ukraine to continue using his network, he's passionately denying that it's being used as leverage amid negotiations to steal Ukraine's minerals to pay for the proxy war the U.S. itself engineered. The Trump administration... What was that?
It wasn't me.
That was very scratchy. It wasn't me.
Was it?
Yeah, that was really bad.
It wasn't me.
He said the Trump administration has called Zelensky a dictator, yet they continue facilitating the proxy war that he's in the middle of fighting. The U.S. weapons continue flowing to Ukraine, albeit quietly, and more U.S. weapons will be sent via Europe. The U.S. isn't even hiding the big rusty bear trap they want Russia to step into. It's Minsk 3.0. Not cool. All right, so check out Ricky's article over at Council of State Media. Follow Brian Bertelic. Next, man, this is so upsetting. All right, so we've been talking about Dr. Hussam Abu Safia. He was supposed to be released on yesterday. But first off, we got video and a picture of him, and he's lost like 30 pounds at least. He looks gaunt. He's been tortured. He's not in good shape.
Correct.
All right.
Correct.
Now, on top of that, he was not on the list of detainees to be released. This happened, we believe, when an IDF soldier who was being released, like, celebrated with the Hamas captors and kissed two of them on the forehead. And Bibi got so angry, he ordered the release to not happen. So, of course, our friend Laura says, breaking, Israel has explained it had no choice but to deny the release of Dr. Hussam Abu Safia because it found undeniable evidence that he'd been practicing medicine. Indie Media Award honoree Laura from Normal Island News. There was also an article that I didn't get a chance to go through, but I want people to read about the futility of the NLRB. All right, that without them being able to impose serious penalties, vigorous enforcement just results in endless backlogs. And that it's a waste of time, effort, and money the way we're doing it. We need to rethink it. That's a really good article. There's also this article. I don't even remember who this was from. I think you sent me this one. Oh, from Robert Inlakesh over at Mint Press.
And now for something completely different.
Trump's Lebanon agenda is regime change on fast forward. Definitely read this one. There's a lot of good stuff in there. It's somewhat long. Did not want to go through all that. Plus, I did not really want to do a fuck Israel segment this week. So read that one. I mean, of course, the whole Dahlia thing with Yves Engler being in jail is fucked up. But that's not directly Israel's fault. It's Zionist's fault. And because of what Israel's doing for sure, but doesn't really fall in the same category.
Benjamin Netanyahu?
Yeah, that clown. Now, this one I brought, and I'll include the link. This is what I call this guy the mayor of Substack, Ted Joya. Everybody loves him. He is he's a jazz writer. But he also has been pointing out things about AI and about Google. And he points out that the world's largest search engine doesn't want you to search anymore. What? Well, because of AI search results and everything else. Why is Google abandoning its core mission? And I'll just go through the beginning. Almost everything in the digital world is turning into its opposite. Social media platforms now prevent people from having a social life. ChatGPT makes you less likely to chat with anybody. Relationship apps make it harder for couples to form lasting relationships. Health and wellness websites make it almost impossible to find reliable health advice, instead peddling products of dubious efficacy. Product review sites now prevent people from reading impartial reviews by actual users of the product, instead operating as pay-for-play vehicles, etc., etc. All right? So he points out some Google articles and some things that are happening. I've known Google up close and personal from the start. I initially found the company quirky and endearing, but those days ended long ago. The company is now clueless and creepy. Almost every day I read about some ugly news story about Google. Here are a few headlines from a typical week. Google ditches its promise not to develop AI weapons. Millions of Google users alarmed after discovering new AI tool they can't turn off. Google facilitated Russia and China's censorship requests. Their new fingerprinting policy sparks privacy backlash as ads become harder to avoid. And that Google data centers used nearly 6 billion gallons of water in 2024. So there's a lot of really good stuff in there that I want you to check out. And it's a longer article. It talks about how their core mission was originally do no harm, and they even took that out of their slogan.
Yeah, don't be evil.
Right, do no evil.
That was the other thing.
All right. So that's another article I wanted you to check out. And then, of course, I wanted to end on a really positive note. Leonard Peltier.
I'm proud of the positions I've taken.
He got let out.
Help fight for our rights, their survival. I was 13 years old in 1958 when they came to Turtle Mountains here, and they said that we got to be terminated. They were the second reservation to be chosen for termination. The Menominee were the first one. I can honestly, happily, and proudly say I was at those demonstrations. I was supposed to be there. My dad didn't want me to be there, but I went anyway. And we stopped termination here for the Turtle Mountain Shipboard. I'm so proud of the showing and support you've given me. I got a hard time keeping myself from crying.
Don't cry, you'll make me cry.
A strong warrior can't be up there crying in front of his people, so I'm not going to cry. I want to say thank you. Thank you very, very much for me this. Mostly, the support was surprising. I was full of shock. It was surprising to see all of these lined up there and welcoming me home, you know. It was June 10th. I went before the parole board, and they gave me a death sentence.
Yep.
15-year hit. 3 years old, probably going to do 15 more years without the medical treatments I need. They treated me like shit, man. They sentenced me to sensory deprivation cell. I don't know if you guys know what that is. This total darkness. I was supposed to die in that cell. But the Supreme Court saved me and said, you can't do that. He's already been sentenced by the courts. And by the way, that sensory deprivation cells is illegal. And they tried all kinds of different things. But I beat him. I beat the bastards.
He did.
Another thing I did was I made sure all Indian issues was the top subject in all my protests and all my activism to bring these issues to light to around the world. And I was pretty lucky from that. I want to also mention that from the day one, from the first hour I was arrested, Indian people came to my rescue from all over the country, especially the United States, and they've been behind me ever since. I mean, I got something like 800 tribes, I believe, 800 tribes that support. So that's a big, it makes me feel good, man. I just make me feel good. It was worth it for me to be able to sacrifice for it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So a little bit of good news to see that guy out of prison and see him healthy somewhat and looking great and sounding great and resilient. Man, that is just oof. And then
fantastic.
To continue the good news, of course, our friend Shanda, she's kicking the crap out of cancer. She's pushed back and fought back a lot of the tumors, and there's a lot that wasn't detected on her latest PET scan. There's still some stuff in there. She's still going to need our help and fight. But man, she's been through the ringer and she's on her way back and we love her for it and we're going to be here to support her. And anything you can do, the GoFundMe link will be in the description afterwards. I usually have been putting it in every week. So please, if you can, support her as well. Support independent media. And if you watch Ozza and Shanna, Beauty and the Boomer, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific on Saturday nights. I don't know if they're going to do one next week. I know they did one last night. It was outstanding. Go support them, please. All right.
I got you, homie.
Yeah, I got you. So good. We're going to end like on time, and then we'll get to Boats at midnight. And it'll be Boats Uncensored.
Great success.
It will be on Rumble only. Rumble, everything except for YouTube. So 6 platforms, just fuck YouTube, because YouTube doesn't deserve this. Plus, they won't like what we're going to play anyway. So, it's kind of mutual. Just as a reminder, again, support independent media. Let's take that down. These people already have Cash App, Ko-fi, PayPal, INNnewsletter.com are the ways to do it. We love you for it. Thank you so much. It really helps a lot. The other 2 things I wanted to mention were INN Newsletter. I did publish a couple of shorts, but I did not email them out to people, so they're up there. You've got your weekly update. You know what? I forgot to do a weekend update. I'll have to do one tonight or tomorrow. I was wondering why nobody clicked. That's a good reason. I didn't do one. This is the weekly update that happens every Friday at 6:45 Eastern. Subscribe. You'll get one of those, and you'll get a daily update throughout the week telling you what live streams, clips, and articles were published. And then, of course, you've got Indie Media Today. There was a live stream alert that went out there today. I also, all the clips from this show are cut up and uploaded there, exclusive and ad-free. So you can always watch any of the clips from the shows ad-free. We're also going to upload this to Spotify after the show's over tonight, so you'll be able to listen to and watch the podcast on Spotify. And I mentioned talking about Rockfin with Steve and Ryan from the Independent Review over on AM Wake Up on Friday. So you can check out not just that segment, which is 40 minutes long, but actually the full 4-hour-long show, which was a compilation.
Oh, that beautiful bean footage.
It's first a compilation show.
Damn you!
Yeah. It's a compilation show of all the best of independent media. And there actually is a How Do We Miss That segment included. But it's got Dave DeCamp and Corbett Report and Whitney Webb and sometimes Sam Tripoli's in there. Great, I mean, like, I feel like we're not worthy to be included, but I guess we are. And I appreciate that people consider us to be at that level. And that's great. That's our wall of fame. Like I said, I love you all. So we're going to go to Boat soon. Support independent media because we need it more than ever. YouTube makes me tell half my jokes like a Burma shave ad. That's funny. Yeah, fuck those guys is right, Mastermind. Amen. Yes, do we have a newsletter, Fred? I don't think we do. No. INNnewsletter.com, IndieMediaToday.com. You see it down on the bottom.
Coming to a Substack newsletter near you.
No, that's going to be Joyanne Reed this week.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to be coming to a Substack near you.
I can't stand a stupid BS. I can't stand a stupid bitch.
Nice. Shout out to Bernie Mac. All right, fam. We're going to get out of here. We'll see you for Boats. Link in the chat now for Boats on Rumble, upcoming in a moment.
Yeah.
And then
go to our Twitter at Get Indie News if you want to watch it on Twitter. It'll be up there in a second. You're welcome to chat in the Discord. Me and Indy will have that up. Indy should have Restream chat up for that. But yeah, support independent media, like he said.
Yeah, how about that? We need
right?
more
You
than
said
ever.
that already, right?
Labels are bad. Stay independent.
No one knows what they're doing. Everything is getting worse. Some people deserve to die. Your money is worthless. No one is properly dressed. At least one of your children will disappoint you. The system is rigged. Your house will never be completely clean. All teachers are incompetent. There are people who really dislike you. Nothing is as good as it seems. Things don't last. No one is paying attention. The country is dying. God doesn't care. Shh.
Support independent media, everyone.
We just fucking lost the stream.
I think I liked it better being blind, when I couldn't read between the lines, and when I couldn't see the cracks in the structure that lay bare before me the whole time. I think I liked it better back when I suspended disbelief and swallowed pride. I thought I knew the difference in the red from the blue, but they both bleed us so dry. They both bleed us so dry. My favorite songs don't hit the same way. I get to the end of a 4-minute track and I'm only looking back thinking, what did they actually say? Can't keep giving us nothing and think we're bluffing about coming for your heads. Why play civil if you won't listen to 50,000 dead? And now we know our mission, we form a militia, make Congress a prison. No, I play civil when all these dead won't make you listen. What's more American than slaying your oppressors? What's more American than liberty or death first? God, I thought we were founded on abolishing the tyranny of those who would starve a village all to live empirically. And I regret that I have only one life to give for my cause now that I can see the cause so clearly. See, I want our leaders, regardless of party, to fear me.